Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you're all doing really well. Had a great week, learned a ton of new stuff, read an encyclopedia. This week, we're going to talk a little bit more about companies. All right, so companies, just like people, they are all different. They have crazy personalities. There's a lot of differences going on up here, but they're all very nuanced. All right, so we're taking four big companies that you all know about. I think it's Google, Amazon, Apple, and Facebook, and we're going to compare them in a very particular perspective. All right, so the topic of this video is going to be a company breakdown from a programmer's perspective. What exactly is a company? Just to review, but a company is nothing more than a group of people that provide one or two things. All right, every single company provides a product or a service or both of them. So if you go into a Adidas store, you can buy a hoodie. This is a product, right? Or you can, every month you pay your internet bill, and that internet is a service you pay for. Or you could buy a Kindle, and once you buy your Kindle, you can go to the Amazon bookstore. That's a product and service. So every single company provides either a product or a service or both of them. So the companies we're going to dissect today are Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook. These are all huge tech companies that you all know about, but these same exact patterns can be used to probably analyze the personalities of other companies. All right. Furthermore, there's a lot of different perspectives to be in when considering these companies, right? For this video, we're going to all be from the developer or the programmer's perspective. But you can also be in like the consumer perspective, right? What if you're just an average Joe using Facebook or Google, or it could even be from the small business or other business perspective. You could be another business using Amazon to ship your products, right? So there's a lot of different perspectives and relationships between outside parties and those companies. For this video, it's going to be developer to those companies. All right, let's get straight into it and start analyzing these companies. All right, the first company on our list is going to be Google. And first thing to note is that whatever you're feeling or seeing from the outside is always amplified a lot on the inside. If you're a developer out there and you've ever used Google APIs before, I'm sure we have the same sentiment, but Google has a shit ton of APIs. Hundreds and hundreds of APIs. It's like a huge hodgepodge of different things you can use. Overall, if you've ever used the Google APIs, it doesn't feel very cohesive. There's just an API for all sorts of things. I like to call it cherry picking. You just kind of cherry pick exactly what you need, and they have a lot of different stuff. So examples are they have a login API to log in via Google. They have a map API to get coordinates. They have an analytics API to get clicks on your website. All sorts of stuff, whatever you need. When you use all these different APIs and SDKs from Google, they're all very, very useful in their own right, but they're not very cohesive, all right? And that actually says something about the company. What I think, my opinion, remember guys, my opinion, what I think this says about the company is that they don't really value the interworking of all their services very well, all right? And we'll see how this compares with other companies, but you can tell that the mentality of Google is a very kind of like pet project mentality, like tons of different teams working on tons of different stuff, and they all have their own APIs, right? The Maps team gives a Maps API to all the developers, but multiply that by hundreds, all right? So even internally, I don't think there's a lot of cohesion with all the different services at Google, and it definitely reflects all the way up to the developer level. And we, the developers, when we see all those scatterbrain APIs, it's definitely a clear sign of kind of how the interworkings of the company actually are. All right, the next company up on the list is going to be Amazon. And if you're a developer, you've probably used Amazon Web Services before, but when you look at it, it's not like the sexiest thing. It doesn't look very cool, but it's a beast. All right, so Amazon Web Services is kind of the de facto standard, the golden standard of how you host applications on the internet, all right? They do it the best, and no one can argue that. Huge services, huge companies even are all built on top of Amazon Web Services. Heroku itself is built on top of Amazon, and they just have everything you could possibly need to host a website. So what does this actually say? How does this reflect their company? When I use Amazon Web Services and see how crazy of a platform it is, I really think it reflects how Amazon values raw operation. So for you out there, the developer who's like looking to host a website on the internet or do anything, host some pictures, maybe like set up some databases, but Amazon is just going to give you everything you need for web services, all right? And it's all very cohesive. They understood everything that a developer would possibly need to host a website, and they give it to you all in one package. So again, let's just compare that back with how Google sets up their APIs, all right? So Google APIs, tons of them, but they're all very scattered, and you cherry pick them, all right? Versus Amazon's developer's perspective, but what Amazon does is they give you a huge suite of services that you use for one specific purpose, which is hosting web applications, all right? And both of these things reflect how the companies are actually thinking. It reflects how Google is a very pet project, tons of stuff going on in parallel, and it also reflects how Amazon is not a pet project mentality. They're like an operational business mentality. They know what you need to get your job done, and they're gonna give you all that stuff. Third company on our list is gonna be Apple. You guys all know about this company. People either love them to death. They wait in typhoons and blizzards and wait in line to get the iPhone 8, or they just hate them, all right? But it's better to be loved and hated rather than somewhere in between. What Apple did for developers was, in my opinion, something that no company has ever done for a developer community before, all right? And a lot of people hate on this, but Apple really leveled up what it meant to provide like an ecosystem or platform for developers. I wouldn't say I love it, I wouldn't say I hate it, but I do respect the shit out of it, all right? That's my opinion. If you guys don't know or haven't developed in Apple before or anything Apple related, is they have a very tight ecosystem of how you can develop, all right? First, you need a Mac. If you want to develop anything onto an Apple device, you need to have a Mac yourself. After you get a Mac, you have to use their text editor, which is Xcode, all right? Only can you use Xcode to edit anything. After you use Xcode, you can only deploy your applications, of course, to the specified Apple devices, iPads and iPhones. So you've probably guessed it, but what I'm trying to get across here is that there's really very little flexibility when you're developing in the Apple ecosystem, and that's on purpose. What does this reflect about Apple again? So like this is us coming from the developer's perspective, but what does this reflect about Apple's values? Well, obviously one thing they value is really tight control. They want tight control of everything before it gets to their customers, right? They have tight control over the hardware, they have tight control over the software, and they really have tight control about their developer ecosystem, all right? They control every single step. Some might think it's a little crazy, but it actually proves to be quite a different and nice experience sometimes. So this tight ecosystem just reflects the control that Apple wants on its products. Pretty much what they want is they want the utmost control of everything before it touches their customer, all right? And you can definitely see that in their products. You know, Apple's definitely, maybe before more so than now, but they've had the products with the most consistent experience out of probably any tech product. And that's exactly why. It's their controlling mindset. All right, so let's talk about Facebook now, which is our last company, and their developer tools have definitely changed a lot over time. I remember when I first set up like Facebook login, when it was first available, it was so simple. It was just like the blue login with Facebook button, and you could just log in via Facebook. It was all I used. There was more stuff, but back then it was more or less a pretty simple API. So Facebook's goal is actually a very lofty, ambitious goal. I respect it as well, but their core goal, their core value is that they want to connect everyone in the world, all right? And that's pretty crazy if you think about it, right? We have the internet, but just having the internet is a network of computers, right? It's not really a network of people. So Facebook is trying to create that scale of a network via the internet, but they want to create an insane global 6 billion person network. And they're almost getting there, which is crazy. So with that said, that's Facebook's core value, right? So their API isn't really a core tech product in itself, right? It's just a gateway into that network. If you use the Facebook API, it's going to get you access into that insane human network. Also think about Facebook games, all right? So Facebook doesn't have an insane gamer presence. Like if you're an insane League of Legends player, you're not going to be on Facebook. So their kind of games are simple games, right? Farmville. If you guys ever played Farmville, it was like a crazy game where you just take care of cows, but it was so popular. And what made that game so popular was the social aspect, right? That game itself was a social type of thing where you like interact with other farmers, but you play that game on Facebook and you lever Facebook's insane global network. All right, so as you can see, APIs, games, all this stuff outside Facebook, it's just complementing their core mission, which is the people connecting. But a lot of things can benefit from people connecting, right? So imagine you're a developer. You watching this video, imagine you're just developing your next cool application or idea you had, but maybe it's social in nature, right? You're developing a social application. You would be pretty stupid to not leverage the Facebook platform at this point for your game. This is Facebook's way of just being nice to you, right? Joe, you want to develop a social game. Here's access to our social graph with our API, and that's just like a nice gesture from Facebook, but it's still an afterthought of their API, all right? Their core value is still the network. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. What we did here was we just took 4 companies, these 4 big companies, Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and we just kind of dissected them or analyzed them from the programmer's perspective. One thing that I just want to reiterate is that we only took one perspective on this, the coders or whatever, the developer's perspective, but there are many other perspectives when working or having a relationship with these big companies, right? You can be just a consumer or average Joe, like you and me, we're just the average Joe consumers of YouTube via this video. You could be like a small business using Amazon. So maybe in a different video, we can brainstorm what it's like from a different perspective looking at these same companies. All right, so actually I could challenge you guys to do that, right? All of you guys, I bet 99.9% of people watching are the average Joe consumers, including me. We are the average Joe consumers of Google, Amazon, Apple, and Facebook. So what does our experience as an average Joe really say about their company's values? And if you think hard about it, I bet you could come up with a good list. I even have a better idea for this. I'm gonna take that topic that I just proposed to everyone. I'm gonna put it up on the discussion boards, the discourse forums. I'll put a link somewhere on this video, but if you haven't seen those forums yet, they're really nice forums, a lot of good questions. And I think anyone that's watching, before you ask whatever question you're about to ask in the comments, go there first and see if the question has already been asked, right? Do your homework. So I'm gonna actually start a thread based on this video and we can all talk in there about what we think about this. So I'll do that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please give me a like, thumbs up, share, whatever. Really appreciate your time as always, and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see everyone next week. All right, take care.